Greetings Internet, DDA here, and welcome to another RNG patented approved Star Wars Unlimited deck profile video. This time we're coming at you with a deck that's near and dear to my heart. This is double green Padme Swarm. This deck actually started as a joke. One of my friends messaged me and asked me if I thought Padme was viable, and my response to that was to build this deck, a 60 card deck that doesn't run out of gas, continuously plays a ton of units, goes insanely wide, with Rebel synergy through and through. Padme just ensures that you never run out of gas. I'm so excited about this deck because it actually is currently 10-1. Crazy. I've been beating people with this, and I actually survived aggro matchups lately, which is of course the worst matchup for this deck would be aggro. Once you get into the mid game though, you can take over both the field and your opponent's units. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. So I first want to start out by talking about the 24 HP base that we're running here. Of course, we could run Energy Conversion Lab. Shock T is amazing with Energy Conversion Lab. However, I didn't feel like there were enough ambush targets in this deck to make use of the ECL. And I also felt that the Droid Manufactory was giving me added consistency by activating Padme's Coordinate on deploy. There's a lot of healing in this deck and a lot of restore, including Padme herself. So I felt like we could get away with a 24 HP base and just use the extra droids as a form of just ability to go wide. We can sack them, we can buff them with Cody, or just always keep Coordinate online at all times. The deck plays, I think, 34 Republic cards. It's about there, around there, 34. Out of the 60, so higher than 50%, are going to be able to be tutored with Padme's ability. In the 10 games that I've played since I've gone up to the 34, I have not whiffed a single time on Padme ability. So being that you see 3 cards, having about a 50% chance gives you something on the order of a 90 or so % chance of hitting the ability. It's going to happen basically always. And of course, the reason that we play 60 cards, this is a very, very slow and grindy deck. It does play very key cards, and I'll be honest, when I built this deck, I didn't set out to make a 60 card deck. I just added in all the cards that I wanted to play. It ended up at 60, and then I felt no need to really cut anything. Because of Padme's continual tutoring with the 3 cards that you see, you can always pick out units at all stages of the game that you want to see and dig into your deck. You don't notice the 60 cards at all. And then, of course, it completely removes you from having to worry about any form of mill against you, even though you're going to be drawing about 4 or 5 or more cards per game, maybe even upwards of 10 or 12 cards I've drawn with this deck. Even though you're drawing that much, you're still not going to be milled out because you play the 60 cards. Now, going into the early game plays, first want to talk about the 332nd Stalwart. This guy is a standard. He's great. Mostly in here for early game Coordinate. You want to get Coordinate online as fast as possible, so that's going to involve you either doing a double unit play or playing the Manufactured Soldiers double green card. Another reason why we built this deck. So getting Coordinate online as fast as possible is important, and the reason being is that a good play for you is to actually Padme ability for the 1 cost on the flip turn. So often on the flip turn on 5, I will do a 3 unit play or do a 4 unit play. Like you could drop down a Shock T, for example, and then you could do this 1 cost ability to tutor, flip, and then tutor again to get that 2 card draw on the flip turn. I do like doing that. And so this guy kind of just helps you out with that double unit play, getting Coordinate online as fast as possible. Of course, playing non-Republic units in this deck is taxing, so I want to talk about both of these early game plays together. As they are non-Republic units, They are played very, very specifically in this deck for good reason. That is 3 Battlefield Marine and 3 of the the Colonel Yularen. Both of these units, of course, are in the deck for the aggro matchup. Aggro is our worst matchup by far. As long as we can survive, get a healing engine going, which we will go over later. If we can get that healing engine going, we can survive into the mid game and take over the field. These 2 units as turn 1 plays really help us do that. We play a total of 18 turn 1 plays. That's right, you heard me right. Being that we're a 60 card deck in a go wide deck, 18 feels good. It's enough early game that you can see the consistent turn 1 plays that you want to see. However, it's not too much that you can still see those mid-game plays as well. These are the 2 best drops, again, in the aggro matchup. You want to see these. You want to mulligan for these if you play against aggro. It's a tough matchup. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but we can survive if we drop one of these and we either trade into an early unit or get the healing engine going. I'm going to go over in a little bit. Being that this is a go-wide Republic deck, of course we are playing 3 Echoes. This guy is a monster. You're going to get Coordinate online super quickly, and he is going to be a 4-4 for 2. He's going to let you do that double unit play on the 4th resource turn for 2-2 plays. Just a great card. Nothing more to say about it. Huge, huge power on the board. And then, of course, again, being that we are a Republic deck, we are definitely going to play 3 of the Republic Fleet Lieutenants, which is the Republic Tactical Officer. This is a great unit. There's no reason why we wouldn't play 3 of it. It's great to tutor into your hand. It's great as a mid-game and a late-game play. Just an excellent card. And then closing out our early game units, we have 3 copies of another card that the reason that we're building double green, that is Maz Amada or Maz Amada, one of the 2. But this guy is just insanely strong. The 0-4, he's going to stick around. Early game plays really can't kill him immediately. They have to wait until their 3 or 4 drops or do a 2 card play into him, which you're fine with if you're taking 2 cards from your opponent. But if they leave him on the field, you're just going to be able to draw any unit. And that's the thing about this. We do play non-Republic units in this deck. There are units that this guy will tutor that Padme cannot tutor. So that is a very, very important point. You look at 4 cards and you get to get any unit that you want. He's extremely powerful. The more I play him, the more I love him. Definitely worthy. Double green is in a great place. And like I said, this deck started as a joke, but it's actually insanely powerful. So I wanted to get this deck profile video out to you all. And one of the reasons that this is insanely powerful is because we have 3 copies of Synchronized Strike. And let me tell you how powerful Synchronized Strike is in this deck. You are going to have 6 or 7 units very quickly. On the flip turn, on the 5 resource turn, you get 3 units in play with nothing on the field. This makes Synchronized Strike be able to one-shot any leader in the game. I have one-shotted leaders left and right with this card. They will think they're safe until you drop down the hammer that is Surprised Synchronized Strike for 7 or 8 damage and then just annihilate their leader on deploy. I played it at 2, needed to be 3, immediately went to 3 on that card. Starting into our mid-game plays, we are going to first talk about the most important mid-game card in this deck, and that is 3 copies of the 501st, the 501st Liberator. When you read it, it reads pretty well. When you play it, it is a dominant powerhouse of a card. This card is my number 1 choice to tutor with Padme. It is my number 1 choice to bounce with Tranquility. It is my number 1 choice. I would play 6 of this if I could. It's insane. You can get 4 heal on play with Colonel Yularen in play. I have double played this. I have tutored 2 of them into my hand, double played for a 6 to 8 heal. And you could just take over the tempo that you get from this guy. Putting the 3/3 on board, and then giving you a 3 or 4 heal. This is the way that we win the aggro matchup. It's the only way that we win the aggro matchup. Yeah, just insane card. Excellent in this deck. S tier in this deck. The next card we, of course, are going to play 3 of, being that we are a Republic-centric deck, is this amazing statted space unit as a Republic unit. It's definitely probably the best Space Republic unit. It has Falcon stats for 3. This is another card that we need to win the aggro matchup. There is basically no way that you're winning the aggro matchup if they go heavy space and you don't see this card. So we have to run it at 3. Hope you can tutor it with Padme power. It is an excellent card and definitely worthy of the 3 slots. Get it into your hand with the tutor. I mentioned that the non-Republic units that we play are limited and at a premium. That's why I want to talk about Admiral Akbar. We are only running this at 2 for now. I am highly considering going to 3 as a 6th copy of Synchronized Strike. Plus, Admiral Akbar gets that +1 since he himself is a unit, and you drop down in the ground arena, so you get an extra ground arena unit. Very, very good card. I only play him at 2 right now because of the 3 cost, because he's a unique unit, and things like that. I only have him at 2. The third one is in the sideboard. However, I could definitely see 3 in here. I'm looking. One of my other friends, I was like, I'm really looking to add the third Akbar. He's like, dude, why don't you just go to 61? What's one more card? Hey, that one more card matters, okay? We're already at 60. I can't go to 61 out of good conscience. Next up, closing out our mid-game 3-drop units, we have Admiral Yularen now, which is a very, very different form of a Yularen. Very, very good card in this deck, giving all of your troopers and everything +0/+1, giving you that restore. Just a very, a wide card. This card promotes you playing wide, and it just lets your opponent your unit stick around longer to have that wide strategy. Then, of course, again, a non-Republic unit. We are playing at a premium. We have 2 Bright Hopes to stop the onslaught of the space decks. We do have the third one in the sideboard as well against those space-heavy decks. And then it wouldn't be a Republic-wide deck without 3 Shock Ts. We don't have a way to ambush her in this deck because we are not looking to play fast. We are not playing Timely Intervention because Shock T is really the only one in the deck that combos with ambush, and I didn't feel like the deck slots were worth it. We would much rather play things that helped us in the aggro match, and Timely is a little slow. It's decent in the aggro match, Timely is, but it is slow too, giving that +1 cost to whatever you play it on. But Shock T, still an amazing unit, will win the game by herself if they do not answer her, especially in this deck. And then one of the main reasons, now we're into the area of the events, the reason that we play double green, we have Manufactured Soldiers. This card is excellent and will turn coordinate on immediately. So let's say you start with initiative. You can start with an Echo if you have Manufactured Soldiers in your hand, because then you can claim, immediately open with Manufactured Soldiers, turning Echo on into that 4/4. Just a great card to turn coordinate on for 3. It's basically better Batch Brothers. If you look at it as a better Batch Brothers, you can see how strong this card is, and it's definitely worth playing double green. Also worth playing double green would be 3 commands. I would love to play more ramp in this deck, but I didn't feel it was necessary. Padme comes out on 5, and I didn't want to allocate more resources to ramping because we don't play that much top end in this deck. We play top end, but it's not a major focus of the deck. We need to be able to meet the aggro decks. Command is going to help you meet the aggro decks because if they're going heavy space, they have non-unique units that you can kill. If they're going heavy ground, you can give experience and do unit trades. Command is a very versatile card. It will also help you in the hyper late game by returning units from your discard pile to your hand. And if you are in a position to ramp, it's actually amazing to ramp on the 4 resource turn, because then you can immediately deploy Padme. So if you're in a position where your opponent is on the back burner and you really feel like you're in control of the game, you can take advantage of that by using command to ramp and then immediately deploying. That is an option, although I don't normally do that. Normally, I'm either doing early game unit kill experience, or I'm doing late game experience unit return, or unit return ramp. But that's in like the hyper late game, when I would want to like do a double unit play or a crazy play with home 1 or something like that. Being that this is a wide double green deck, we are afraid of one card in the game, and I'm sure you're thinking that card right now. When I say, what is the one card that we're afraid of? What comes to mind? Well, that's Super Laser Blast, my friend. Super Laser Blast is super scary, and the only thing that we can play to stop Super Laser Blast is an out-of-aspect Spark of Rebellion, which has helped me out a lot. This is a slow deck. We want to slow the game down. We can play this for 4 and be totally fine with that. I am totally fine paying 4 for this in this deck to potentially counter the Super Laser Blast and any other thing that I care about. I do have the 3rd one in the sideboard for the blue villain control matchup, and we are also playing a single copy of Indefensive Camino. I have gotten this card to resolve a few times. It gives you a chance to catch up against the aggro decks. You would not play this turn 3. You would probably play this a little bit later game, maybe turn 5 or turn 6, in order to recover about 10 to 14 HP, since all of your Republic units are going to get restore. It is decent, and it can also be tutored with Padme's ability, since it is a Republic card. So that is the main reason why we're running it, is that the only Republic card in the deck that is an event that can be tutored with Padme ability. So that's the main reason why we're playing it. Also, it offers some protection against Super Laser Blast, because if you can resolve it before the Super Laser, you can get 2/2 clones for every Republic unit that they kill. So they probably won't Super Laser into this. They'll probably just claim on you and then Super Laser next turn, but it will give you at least a free turn to push in damage, restore, and then potentially be able to close out the game. So I think it's worthy at 1. Now, going into the late game plays, of course, the whole reason that this deck works is because we play 3 Commander Codys. Commander Cody, probably the best green card in the game right now. It's just insane. Commander Cody is busted good, and this deck works because of Commander Cody. Tutor him with Padme, throw him out, make those droids 2/2s instead of 1/2s that you created with Droid Manufactory, and just run into the opponent. This deck is actually fairly aggressive. I just want to let you know. Like, you're not going to sit back and do nothing. You will push into the opponent. The wide strategy is to get all that damage on board, out-action economy your opponent, and then just kill them with Commander Cody. That's what you do. We do play 2 of the supply frigates. These are decent, not great units, but I wanted a mid-game space unit that was Republic that I could tutor. This is decent. It puts 5 power on the board for 5. And then you have a space unit you could potentially use with a tactical officer to, say, take out some space unit that has 5 HP. Potential there. Or if you had Cody in play, you could take out something with 6 HP, like a Fire Spray or a Ruthless Raider or something like that. So there are options for this guy in the mid-game, so that's why I wanted to play him. He's decent. We are playing a single copy of General Krell because he is a Republic unit, actually. So you can tutor him with Padme, and he is a draw engine. So this is kind of for those grindy matches. I wanted to play him at 1 for those grindy matches. That way you could drop him down and potentially just grind it out and draw like 4 or 5 cards and really grind out against your opponent if that's the game that they're playing. And then going into our capital endgame here, the capital ships. Tranquility is crazy. You can actually just do a cycle with Tranquility where if you have 2 Tranquilities, you could just keep getting back Tranquility over and over again. So against those annoying blue decks that keep vanquishing and rivals falling you, spending their whole turn to remove your unit, well, you could just continuously do that over and over again while you're drawing, while you're continuously resourcing because they're not, because they're running out of cards. You're not. You're never running out of cards with Padme ability, with Tranquility. Put that 7 damage in space and end the game. Likewise, originally I thought this deck of as a choose sides deck, but because the game is pretty fast, even mid-range decks are ending the game pretty quickly. You often don't get to the 7 resource turn. However, if you do get to the 7 resource turn, you will likely have those droids still around from your Droid Manufactory. I actually have that happen quite often because you're playing so wide, your opponent needs to kill your other units and kind of just ignores the droids for the longest time. And that is fine for us. We are going to drop down this choose sides on 7, steal their huge unit, steal their Luke Skywalker, their Maul, any kind of unit you want to steal, their Ruthless Raider, and completely take away their damage. Great card, is one of the reasons why I actually think this deck works, because the late game green bombs are so good. Choose sides, so great for a top end. And then our final capital end game here, home 1. We got 2 hyper foils of this. You know we're playing it. In a go wide deck, this is how you get to 0. I've actually ended quite a few games with this deck at 0 damage on my base, just because of the sheer amount of restore that is in here. It's crazy. You can't tutor this with Padme. I do have the 3rd one in the side for the ultra grindy matches. But yeah, home 1 is there for you to just end the game if you get to that hyper late game. So now going into the sideboard, most of our sideboard is actually dedicated to the hyper control matchup, because we are pretty much pre-boarded against aggro. And that's how I think you should treat this deck. It's a 60 card deck, so you really need to pre-board against aggro, which is why I want to add the 3rd Akbar. We do have the 3rd Akbar in the side for the aggro matchup, as well as for the aggro matchup, we have the 3rd Bright Hope and a 2nd copy of In Defense of Camino. I do think this is a valuable card in the aggro match, because that mid-game play, you're going to have a super wide board. You're going to be super wide, and then for the mid-game to be able to restore 10 to 12 HP is very significant. That's why I do think it actually can work in the aggro match. Give you that little bit of extra breathing room, so that way because you're going to have to out-action your opponent, right? This is not a burst damage deck. You have to attrition your opponent. And in the aggro match, I think this has some value. I've seen it work, and it's been working for me. So for the grindy matches, since we are pre-boarded against aggro, we actually have 3 Fell the Dragons in the sideboard, because that's our hard removal, right? We're playing out-of-aspect cards. We're playing the out-of-aspect Spark. We're playing the out-of-aspect Fell the Dragon. We can pay 6 for this to remove any late-game target. You know, if we don't find the choose sides, we can pay 4 for this to kill the Super Laser Blast. And then, of course, if we get to the hyper late game, that 3rd home 1 is there. And against the villain control decks that love their Super Laser Blast, Rex is in there to refill your board, instantly activating Coordinate. If they do get the Super Laser Blast through, you have Rex to refill your board as a 1-card play to just refill your board. So I am just so impressed with this deck, honestly. Like I said, it started as a joke, but now I have it made. Its record is crazy high. I think you can make some choices to even improve the aggro match even more, and get this to a place where you're consistently beating aggro decks with your restore and your synchronized strikes and damage. Potentially the 3rd Bright Hope and the 3rd Akbar need to be in the main deck. There's a potential that these need to be named because of the current metagame that we're in. But I'll have to see. I will definitely test. But yes, I love this deck. I give this deck a 10 out of 10 for flavor and just surprising me with how powerful it is. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please hit subscribe for all the best gaming guides and content. And as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming.